welcome to the second annual Film Festival. Welcome to second annual African Film Festival Atlanta. My name is Robert Peters. I'm a filmmaker who is based in Atlanta, who happens to be an African. I'm a very good friend of the festival, and today we're going to have a good time. I took time to watch your film. I was an impromptu host moderator, so they just brought me in a couple of hours ago, and this is the first time I'm doing this. Actually, I'm used to being where you are presently. I get to answer the question and just let the moderator do all the talking. So I'm going to talk to you guys like a filmmaker. We're going to go deep into the films. And the African Film and Art Foundation Incorporated is a non-profit 501c3 media art organization based in Atlanta, Georgia, whose mission is to magnify and celebrate the vision and the voices, lives and stories of people from Africa and Africans in diaspora. We execute our mission currently producing two main events: Cinema for Culture. That's awesome. You guys want to be there. Cinema for Culture, and Cinema for Culture is a monthly film screening and in conversation session with filmmakers and a film fest and the Atlanta Film Festival, of course, which is a 3-day film festival of which we're part of today. So we're just going to go straight into your films. I'm going to start with you, Hallie. Can you just, how did you come about that project?
The CODA, I think I just had some questions that I wanted to answer for myself, and I had a friend who had started a podcast that way. She wanted to understand how to approach work for herself. So instead of looking internally, she asked a group of friends the questions she needed to answer as an individual. And yeah, I think I did the same thing about just trying to understand what the end of the year means and why we put so much pressure on ourselves, you know, where that comes from.
It reminded me of a script I was working with. It's titled A Conversation with Myself. Yeah, that was, I thought that was brilliant. I'm just going to throw it around. Gosia, did I pronounce your name well? Your microphone.
Sorry, Gosia, yes, almost right.
Gosia, sorry. Yeah, that was a brilliant piece. And, how did that happen?
Well, I live in Spain. I'm a Polish filmmaker, but I live in Spain. But in general, you know, I live in a migrant neighborhood, and I'm also a migrant myself. But I'm white European. It's very easy for me to move, whereas other people who come from, for example, Senegal and Gambia, my neighbors, have a lot of obstacles after they come. So I was, you know, wondering, you know, just. In my neighborhood, like how people don't know about each other's stories, and I've heard about fish meal factories run by China in West Africa, namely in the Gambia. So I started to investigate, and it came across with a project of a London-based NGO called Minority Rights Group that wanted to highlight some underreported drivers for migration from Africa to Europe, and they kind of supported me to do this story. And that's how it started. Can you hear me?
I think you're frozen, Robert. Oh no.
You see, this is why I'm here. Robert is not back. Okay, so over to you, Joseph.
Yeah, so the Knell, it's a very personal story to me. So I am Ghanaian, born and raised, emigrated to the US, you know, to study film and creative writing. And I, you know, you come here and then you experience this very familiarizing situation of a white supremacist nation, and you have to, you know, sort of like grapple with that and your place in the world. Sorry, were you saying something?
No, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no. Yeah, so it was just very interesting to me reading that, what's his name? One of the founding fathers of the American Constitution, Thomas Jefferson. He knew way back in the day that that this issue about, you know, where do Black people stand in America was going to be a problem long term. And 20 years before the American Civil War, he told a senator that this will be the knell of the Union. And it was fascinating to me that one of the founding fathers, a slave owner himself, knew that the race problem, the race issue would be a problem in the US. So coming off the back of that with the pandemic and you know, the president who just who just left and all these issues that
the man whose name we shall not mention
on
this platform.
He who shall not be named. Yeah, so all these issues in tandem, and then also to bring my personal story in there, because I wanted to bring my great-great-grandaunt, who's Nana Yasantua, the Ashanti warrior queen, who fought against British colonialism in the 20th century.
That's your great-great-grandmother?
My great-great-grandaunt, yes. So,
aunt. Wow.
So I wanted to bring that to the screen and sort of like blend the two, history and then contemporary issues.
Wow. I've been to Almina Slave Castle. That was an experience. I think every human should experience those castles. Robert, welcome back. Can I go now?
No, please stay.
No. I have things to do in the.
Okay. Yeah, go.
There are many things happening. So
sorry, guys.
Over to you, Gwamaka. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. So for me, I started like producing films in 2015, and I shifted to animation in 2016. So I've been producing animation films for social change because so I worked in an NGO which I co-founded, and our innovation method was to use technology, and we started using animation for social change and storytelling for social change, telling our own films inspire social behavior change. So like after doing that and produced 14 films, getting to produce Mbuland, it was the right time for me because it was a journey to learn how how powerful animation is. And throughout the entire time, I was just making it, telling stories through animation. And this was making Mbuland was the right time because it was the first time we made a film that we gave characters that are not human, and that's mosquitoes together with cows, tree, and a monkey speaking in a film. Out of all the films before, we're making films that are just humans interacting. So this was the right time to really utilize the technology of animation and telling a story that was really attached to not only myself, but a lot of people. Because we, out of the experiences of growing up, we come across malaria a lot, and mosquitoes being the only enemy, and they seem to be enjoying so much when you're sleeping, for example, they're singing and really annoying on your ear. But really thinking about what they're saying or what they're interacting or when they're planning to come through to spread the malaria, how is that about, and how they enjoy when we have a weakness of not taking care of the environment and cleaning and drying the ditches, stuff like that. So we wanted to tell a story through a young boy's voice, and who is going through a sadness and pain of losing a sister, since malaria is affecting children under the age of 5. So that being the drive for him to mobilize the entire community and really get rid of mosquitoes that are causing malaria. So it's a story that is really attached to me because I had malaria like countless times. So I was lucky that it wasn't a disease that took me out. And so I wanted to really inspire the community through a young boy's voice and bring a lot of fun around it. So like mosquitoes were singing and like dancing and, playing around. But again, humans and cows that are really dedicated to get rid of like with the crash of the two. So it was really a good experience to make a film. Really glad that getting out there.
And I really connect with you. When I was watching it, it was very nostalgic because I experienced mosquito too growing up in Nigeria, Africa. And I could directly see from your point of view. So you made it from experience. I remember when we were growing up, we used to just joke that the mosquitoes in the school we went to that they go to the gym, that those mosquitoes work out, you understand? So I love the sense of humor. The message was apt. It was a beautiful, beautiful piece. I loved it. Yeah. So next is Joseph.
Oh, I think I already went. Should I go again? I don't
know. No. Yeah, go again. Yeah.
Go again? Okay.
Yeah, just make it brief this time. Sorry, guys. This is the problem with my house. My wife just set up my printer to added it to a Wi-Fi so we can print directly from my system. So the internet keeps switching from the Wi-Fi to the printer, and that was the problem. So I had to go and quickly disable it. Sorry, guys. Yeah, let me hear you because your piece is quite interesting. I like it. I like it too.
Yeah, I was telling what's it, Moji, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was telling her that the Knell is a story that's close to my heart. The reason being that, being an African emigrating from Ghana to the US, it's a very defamiliarizing experience to be here and to experience a white supremacist nation for the first time in your life. And especially when you live in Oklahoma. So his experience was not New York or New Jersey, it was Oklahoma. So, it was down in the heart of the dirty South, and it was very, very difficult. So I was sort of like trying to grapple with that and trying to understand how, one of the founding fathers of the American nation, Thomas Jefferson, acknowledged that the race issue would be the knell of the Union if it wasn't tackled. And then 20 years later, the Civil War ensued, and then also trying to reconcile that with my African history, with Nana Yasantua being my great-great-great-grandaunt. I wanted to bring her story to the screen. Bring her story to the screen while I was also grappling with the contemporary issues. So that's what the Knell was really about.
I noticed you were grappling. At some point, you almost lost me, but I shook off and I was able to follow. You understand? But it was an interesting piece. I'm still going to go back and watch it again. Yeah, because you know the film came from a place of depth. You understand? All of you guys deserve to be here, and I can't wait to see where you guys will be in the nearest future, because the world is waiting for that African filmmaker. We need to tell our story. We need to tell it right. You understand? If you don't tell your stories, you know the rest. So now I'm going to go into technical. We're just going to browse through technical. What are the technical challenges? How easy was it filming? I'm going to start with you, Gosia. Did I pronounce it well?
Yes.
Yeah, Gosia. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, I will just briefly, for those who didn't see the film, just briefly that the film was shot in Gambia, in the Gambia, in the tiniest continental mainland African country. So it was a challenge for me. I haven't been there before, but I had a production. My production manager is an anthropologist who worked a lot in the Gambia, and basically that's the story of how the environment is being destroyed, like through overfishing, through taking basically neo-colonial exploitation of natural resources of the Gambia, which is already the country that exports kind of huge numbers of migrants in this irregular and very dangerous route through the sea to Europe. And now with the exploitation of the natural resources by the Chinese fish meal factories, the people in the Gambia who basically live from the fish, both because it's their main source of protein, but also because many people just work as fishermen, women that process the fish, and it was quite difficult. But I mean, at the end, we worked with the Gambian activists who were like our guides there to get the story right. And I think the biggest challenge was like the Chinese owners of the factories. I mean, I didn't mention that it's basically taking the fish out of most of the fish from the ocean and milling this fish to produce fish meal, which is later feed for animals in industrial farming, which is exported to many countries, Asian countries, but also to Europe. So basically, we get cheap meat, cheap feed for animals at the cost of the people who depend on fish for their livelihoods and nourishing. So the Chinese factories are like, it's not allowed to film them according to them. But we had a permit to film on the beaches of Gambia and fishing villages. So because the factories are located on the most beautiful beaches of the Gambia, technically we could do that. I think the most difficult scene maybe was when we were shooting with the fishermen on the fishing boat. It was quite funny because our production manager, she in minute 2 she got seasick and she was basically dying and vomiting all the way while we were shooting. It was very shaky. We drowned our sound equipment, which was insured. So but it was quite hard. But our protagonists that we found there, the people who were like the vehicles to tell this story, because this story is told by the people who live this in their everyday lives, by the fishermen and by a woman who process and sells the fish later on. And they kind of really wanted to tell this story, so they helped us also convince other people all around in the ports that this is something very necessary to highlight this problem to the Europeans, to the world, because these fish meal factories have been in the Gambia only for 4 years, and already the effects are disastrous. Really, right now, where I live in Spain, there's a huge influx of migrants from Gambia and Senegal, and most of them are fishermen. So actually, after 4 years, we can see the impact very immediately. Yeah, so I hope I answered your question a little bit.
Yeah, you almost answered everything in my head, but I'm still going to come back to you. Yeah, there was one part of the documentary that was very memorable to me. That when you look at the general picture, the whole process is like stealing from the poor to feed the rich. You understand? And yeah, and that was very powerful. That was powerful.
And then those rich complain that there's people coming from Gambia, from Senegal, and other countries, and they complain and they have no idea, that this is a global chain of exploitation, and it's not like. And also, this film is a bit of a manifest, to just to say that migration is a human right. And, just as I said, as some people are more entitled to migrate, and others are less entitled to migrate.
Yeah. Like one of our presidents said that, let me forget about it. Say people from SH nation let's forget about that. I'm going to go to you, Gwamaka. So I know yours was highly technical too. And yeah. How did you, what happened hit your head that just made you woke up that, okay, this is what I want to do? So what were your technical challenges, set up, everything?
Yeah, so for me and my team, so I work at a Thai studio, and we're the first animation studio in Tanzania that we're doing 3D animation production. So it's a bit of a very challenging path by itself, because as you know how expensive the technology is. And one of the big challenge that always, I mean, we hear a lot in the industry is film funding, funding for films. So like being able to pull together resources, be able to tell a story that is touching people and is really resonating with people in the community, in all the community that we're living at. That was like in the beginning of the challenges that was affecting. We had a very short timeline because I produced and directed it. So we had a very short and limited timeline to produce something that was new to us and the team. Because as I mentioned before, so mostly we produced animation that characters were mostly humans, and for the first time we stretched to add non-human characters. And we wanted to give them sense of personality, as well as flexibility that on screen to be convincing people that these characters can really interact and engage the way we want them to engage. So that was really a challenging thing to be able to pull that together within 6 months to produce a 12-minute film of animation, and with a very limited budget. So I was able to just to inspire the team to be able to use what they can and use what we have with limited time, but to be able to tell a story and it really reach the objective of not only entertain, but also like pass message of inspiring young generation, as well as even older people, to be able to take action from what they're doing. So this really was a really big help. The challenge was a help as well, because from this, the team was able to stretch to make the content. So there was so much learning as well. So not only to the technical team, even myself, going throughout the entire journey of producing this film, there was so much learning in terms of managing the pipeline of animation production. Considering the fact that I didn't go to film school, I didn't go to animation production school. It's just all self-taught production, and we always strive to get to the professional level. So the most challenging part, like answering is in a nutshell, was producing a film that would be engaging in a very limited time.
Yeah, that was awesome. You guys, you and your team did an amazing job. I really enjoyed it. You got me. I really enjoyed it. Hallie, I'm going to come to you. There were so many things I saw in the movie. The way the characters were shot. I don't know if you guys were on a flat bed. It was just beautiful. From your shots, the flurry of shots from the shots you use. They know where are you based? Where did you film?
I'm based in Johannesburg, and we shot here.
Yeah, so we could see that this filmmaker knows and have love for his city. You understand the way you showcase your city in the project. So what was your technical setup and some of the challenges you faced trying to achieve that beautiful piece? Yeah.
Sure. So just like a summary of the projects as well, CODA is the short documentary where we interviewed everybody about how they feel about time passing, and then match that with visuals of them. We've shot on the back of a moving truck with so the characters seated and like the city moving behind them. And I think that was in itself quite challenging, because obviously you're subject to the weather, and we're like an indie, like skeleton film crew on the back of a van in the city, dealing with rain sometimes and that kind of thing. And also just like aware of your security, moving through a city with all that camera equipment. But I think the most challenging thing for us was it was a huge privilege to make a work that's exploratory. We didn't like come in with a script ready to shoot. We got to ask a question and kind of understand something in the process of making. But that also means that it's just not a commercially viable project, and you take, a year in the edit trying to understand what it is you want to say. So I think just the process of trying to find what the film was instead of injecting something into it, because it is interview based, and so your subjects have a lot of control over the narrative. I think that was the most challenging, but luckily the editor was amazing and very patient, and we really committed to kind of navigating that together.
Yeah, you guys nailed it. You guys did an amazing job.
Thank you.
I've shot in Zimbabwe before, never shot in South Africa, but I've been to Johannesburg and South Africa a couple of times. Yeah. Yeah. So what's the process of getting permits to shoot in Johannesburg? You guys shot with permit, right? Or without permit?
Can't say.
Okay. Thank you.
But I think it was a bit we kind of got away with it because we were always in motion, so that was also one aspect of it. But yeah, couldn't go into too much detail about that exactly.
Yeah,
very
because
feeling the picture project too.
In Atlanta, you're good. In New York, you can't have tripod on the ground, so you guys filming from the car, you'll be perfectly okay if you were filming. If you're filming from the truck, the bed of the truck, yeah. Because that's what I was just going to say. If you're shooting from the truck, I don't think you need permit. I think you're perfectly okay. Joseph.
Hello.
Same question.
Yeah, it was a technical. It was very strenuous because we basically 85% of the film is on a campus tour bus. So trying to shoot, trying to get cinema quality footage or dailies, trying to shoot and get the shots within the production schedule and all these things is very, very difficult because we're in a very confined space, even though it was just two characters. And what made it also even more difficult was that we shot this during the middle of a pandemic in an enclosed area, no open windows, in a moving bus. And you had to make sure that everybody left the set without getting COVID, whilst keeping yourself faithful to your production schedule. But we were able to pull it off with copious amounts of meetings and being very well prepared and organized, and everybody put in 110%. So that I can't say it was me. It's literally the team, the cast. Everybody was amazing. So yeah, usually like for a film like that, I wouldn't rehearse so much, but we rehearsed for like a month, for a 15-minute film, and you were like. Wow. Yeah, because I knew we were going to have these challenges on the bus. And I didn't want the situation where my actors were going line every 3 seconds line, because we needed to shoot like a hurricane. Do we have the shot? Next shot, let's move, because we were hard pressed for time. And I didn't want a situation where we had run out of time and money and we didn't have what, we were looking for. So yeah, that was the main challenge for that.
Awesome. I'm going to come back to you, Hallie. How did you get your talents? The people you do the casting in your project.
I mean, there had to be people that I had some kind of close relationship with, I think, just to be able to share such personal perspectives of time with me. And they'd all, I think what makes it interesting to ask people, a group of people, the same question, is that they were all at very different life stages. Some people had just gotten married, some had just lost a parent, others had just newly moved back to Johannesburg City after 10 years out the country. So I think those, they were all not necessarily my closest friends, but people in who I had some kind of social tie to. And I think that's what made the interview so intimate as well.
So authentic. And yeah, it was so real. Yeah, it was so real. Gwamaka. Yeah, tell us about your team.
Yeah. I work at the studio, Thai studio, and we have a team of 21 people. And out of the 21 people, technically, the people who are working technical are 16. That including animators and illustrators, script writer, together with like modelers and riggers, because we are producing mostly animation. And out of the team, like 2 people went to school to study animation. And the rest, they learn from each other as well as learning from online courses, etc. But what really drives the team at Thai Studio is mostly passions, really passionate team, and people who are really having big goals and dreams, taking not only taking the animation industry to the next level and really represent Tanzania in the global market, but also tell our stories, because we see there's so much love for animation in the country, and we see so much of the Western films as well as like Asian films being watched a lot. But there's so much potential for us as Tanzanian to tell our own stories, or as African to tell our own African stories using the technology of animation. And that's what really comes out as a blessing. It comes out, and you can see that in the team once you step in the studio. So that's the most drive that got us to where we are, and we are having really a big vision ahead of us to tell our stories using the technology of animation.
Awesome. Man, you guys just keeping on, man. You guys are doing a fantastic job. Gosia. Yeah. Did you have to bring your technical crew from? Did you have to bring them to Gambia, or you got local crew?
Sorry,
The
once
crew,
again?
the technical crew, your
yes,
camera guys, your director, your producer. Okay, you directed the producers and all those people. Did you have to bring them in, or you got them locally from Gambia?
Well, actually, that is my first like medium length documentary. So I was really like I really wanted to have an experienced crew, and I just went with the DOP that I know from film school, which is a great Polish DOP that specializes in documentaries. So I kind of knew his work, and I wanted to work with him, since I was sure he would deliver a great image, even if my directing was not to be the best, So I was like wanting really to work with him. So I took him and a sound guy from Poland, and also the production manager is a Polish anthropologist, as I said, that worked a lot on migration in the Gambia, but is based in Jordan. So and in the Gambia, the part of the crew that was there was our fixer and production assistant, Mustafa, and also an activist on this topic of environmental issues in the Gambia, and specifically the fish meal industry in the Gambia. And we worked with a lot of scientists and activists from the Gambia. So yeah, I mean, we went all from, like, most of us, the 4 of us from Poland, but we really wanted to. We worked with local environmentalists to get that story right. I didn't really know Gambian filmmakers, so it would be very hard for me to I didn't know anyone. So for me, the safest way was to work with people I already knew, I guess. And what is quite what I would like to highlight is that in the process of making the film, we discovered that a song that is by a Gambian rapper whose name is ST Gambian Dream. He's a very famous in the Gambia. And actually, the song is in Mandinka, so until it was translated to me, I didn't know what it said. And actually that song, which is the final song of the film, puts lays all the context, all the background of the Gambia. It tells the story of the Gambia and all the issues. And I was really happy that the ST agreed for us to use the song in the film, because I don't feel entitled to talk about Gambia's problems or issues myself in my voice or analyze it in a way. So that was like a voice from within, expressed through rap, art, music, in the local language. And actually most my characters speak in their local language, was also very challenging later on in editing, because obviously I had everything to be translated word by word to be able to cut. So that was a great collaboration with ST. Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, you guys did a wonderful job, and I love the song. And Gwamaka, I love the songs in your film too. I love the way you played around the songs and you just played it in the movie. It was beautiful. Joseph, I'm going to come to you. Your film is a character-based movie. How did you get your cast and were there any?
Yeah, we just went through the usual channel. Yeah, you put up the casting call on Backstage, Actors Access, wherever. We got a fair few amount of, applications, the audition process. And so casting Kweku and Taya wasn't so difficult, but the real challenge was getting someone for the role of Yasantua, which was which was tough, because she is a real person. This is a historical figure, so of course I did my research. I knew with the build I was looking for, the visage I was looking for, she needed to look like an Ashanti warrior queen. So that was difficult to find. And when we found her, she wasn't anywhere near in New Jersey, because I'm literally based in New Jersey or in New York or in the tri-state area. So she was in Chicago. So we had to fly her over to come and play the role. But we couldn't do that too early because of COVID. So that was the real challenge, trying to get her to rehearse, which was, of course, it was a non-speaking role. So, but it was important for her to capture the magnificence of who this woman is. Like, she is the only woman to have ever led a war in the world in the turn of the 20th century. Like, in recent history, no woman has ever led an army before, and Yasantua was that. So it wasn't just any type of role. It needed to be, it was a niche role, and we needed to find someone specific for that. We found Kolisa Moore, who was amazing. We spoke with her agent, got everything sorted, Zoom rehearsals, all that stuff. And when she flew in, she killed the role. So yeah, that was the main issue there.
That was awesome. There's so many filmmakers watching you guys. Let me tell you guys a little bit about my story. About 15 years ago, I decided to make my first short film. I saw a camera, like I used all my saving to buy the camera, and at the end of the year, I found out I didn't have money to make the film. So I had a camera and no film. So I now met one guy who gave me the worst advice in my life. I'll never take any advice from him. Now, do you know you can actually make a film without a budget? And I said, yes, it's possible. Got some people together. Believe me, people will let you start without a budget. It's when you get in that you begin to find out that you need budget. So now we're just going to go into funding. There's so many young filmmakers like me 15 years ago who is watching you guys, who is awed by what you've been able to achieve. Can you please advise them on funding and budgeting? I'm going to start with you, Hallie.
Funding and budgeting, just the reality is that, the space is not very diverse because it is so hard to access resources, and something that I often think makes it more possible is to bake lo-fi or low-tech into the concept, like maybe make the mobile phone part of the story, you know, and justify that format creatively so that you can immediately work around things like needing to actually get money for you know, sound equipment or camera. If you can use your mobile phone and justify that creatively, do it, you know, try to access what you have instead of planning for a film you can't make. And, you know, you learn one part at a time. And once you got concept down, yeah, I think sometimes the limitations are a good thing to work within. There are lots of funding calls, and you know, I think there's lots of really good advice on one of the platforms I'm associated with, Girls in Film, on how to apply for funding and do that effectively, because that is its own skill set, and it can feel very hopeless when you don't actually have good advice on how to make an application. So those are two things, I think, you know, and meet people that you love, because you are much more likely to figure out a way to make it happen when you love spending time together. And that's, I think, that's a weird intangible thing, but it works. Mm.
Awesome. Awesome. Joseph, same question to you.
Yeah, I think that the last point that Hallie was just mentioned is a brilliant point. Like, you can't put a price on social capital, like knowing people and just talking to people and just being a decent human being. Like, it will take you to places. Just being a nice person, just actually having empathy, doors will open for you. My latest short film that I shot, like, it drained me, like, you know, both of them, the Knell and this one, was self-funded. And at the end, I'm applying to film festivals and I'm like, I don't have any money for that. So I spoke to one of my cast. He's also an ex-Hollywood producer who's now gone into acting because he's retiring or whatever. He just wants to do roles for fun. And he's like, oh, what's going on with the festival run? I was like, first, I need to pay off my credit cards, get some money, and then I will start applying. And he was like, Joseph, no. Let's set up a GoFundMe. And he, you know, we set it up, you know, he sent an email blast to all of his rich friends. I mean, the target was, I just wanted $1,500. But like, the GoFundMe did so well. We got like $3,000 within 2 weeks. You know, and it was just because he's a decent guy and he's a fantastic person. So what Hallie says is so true. Social capital is so important, but also, you know, there are other technical things, like, for example, Seed and Spark. You know, so the plan, for example, with my short film is a proof of concept. After a festival run, I'm going to put it up on Seed and Spark and say, hey, you know, it's screened here, it's screened there. I want to make it into a feature. Can you support it? And then, you know, set a budget for that. You know, it's a skill. Again, that's what Hallie was saying. So that's one of the things there. Yeah, so, you know, Seed and Spark, GoFundMe, all of those things are very important. But in the end, you just have to be a decent person in it.
That's awesome. Gosia.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you guys. That it's just very important to, if we invest so much time and energy to make films, it's just good to make it with people that you feel are alike, and you know, that you kind of learn from each other. So it's very important also finding people you would like to work with in the future. So I don't know if there's someone in the film school right now, you know, try already to see who thinks in a similar way, or who complements you. But obviously funding is a challenge, and that's something I'm struggling with, especially for documentaries, which is my case. It's very difficult to get funding, but I was lucky because I was funded by an NGO, which was it was a project to make this film by an NGO. I was lucky; I didn't have to apply for any, you know, film grant. And I was also lucky that this NGO is not an NGO that wants a product that advertises them. They really didn't intervene in the film. They just wanted to highlight this issue because for them it's very important to change the narrative around migration in Europe, especially in countries, for example, like Poland, which is getting more and more right-wing at the moment. I'm very sad about it because I'm Polish and I'm very ashamed of what's happening in Poland. right now in terms of migrants' rights, and we are now going to build a wall also, to like stop migrants coming from now through Belarus into the European Union. So we are following the bad example of many other countries that do that. But going back to funding, yeah, and we also did crowdfunding. As you, Joseph, mentioned, crowdfunding is a really great way. If you set up your Facebook and social media, you can get a lot of followers, and you have to think of organizations that can support you, associations, and we were missing 10,000 euros for post-production and editing, and we got it through crowdfunding, which is also a lot of work, but it's worth it, and it's possible, and at the end of the day, you can see that there's really many people who want to watch documentaries, who want to learn about stories that are underreported and they would never otherwise hear about them in the media, for example. So just don't get disencouraged, and I think that equipment is not a problem anymore because equipment is getting cheaper. Mm-hmm. Also, you can for example buy second-hand camera and then sell it. It's not a problem. I think that what is most expensive is the time of professionals that you work with, because at the end of the day, if these people do it for a living, it's unsustainable to just work for free all the time. So yeah, that's what funding is basically for. But as Hallie said, there's a lot of funds, but obviously one has to learn how to apply to these funds. They're quite complicated, but there's a lot of wonderful producers that can advise or take on your project if you pitch them well. Yeah. So good luck to everyone who wants to make films out there. It's not an easy thing.
No, it's not. You have to be dogged. You have to be tough to do this. Personally, I was talking to a friend. I've invested over $500,000 buying film equipment. Yeah, because I just got tired of renting. So I set up what they call a 5-ton truck. And so I didn't know how beneficial it would be for me in the future. When I was setting it up, I didn't know how beneficial it would be to me now, because it was me just pumping money from other areas into buying equipment. But now my equipment go out for at least $3,000 per day. And yeah, I'm blessed. At the end of the day, it's just staying focused. There's a point all I had was a DXLR camera. It's called 5D Mac. No, 7D. It was Canon 7D.
Canon 7D, yeah. Mark 7D.
Yeah, no, Canon 7D. Then I upgraded to 5D Mark II.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So actually, my first camera was Sony EX1 with a 35mm adapter, because my background was cinematography when I started, and I'm blessed. I've been blessed. I've been blessed. Let me just leave it there. So, Gwamaka, I'm going to come to you. How did you do it? How did you perform that magic?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Hallie just said.
Oh no.
And I was really looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, I know.
Because I know what goes into animation. We tried to do one, and
save the day.
I got frustrated and abandoned it. Yeah. We're going to pick up with him from that question when he comes back, because I think he's going to be back soon. Moji, please look out so you can let him back in. We're just going to go through this real quick. Memorable moment when you were making this film. I'm going to start with you, Joseph.
Oh, memorable moment. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, it feels like something small, but there were moments in the film where we got amazing lens flares. The sun would just be at the perfect location.
Wow, I know that.
Like flash into the camera. So those were like, and I'll call cut and everybody would be like, celebrating that cinematic moment. That I think the most memorable moment was when I said it was a wrap. Because everybody was so tired. We shot a film in a pandemic on a moving bus. So it was, I think, and after that, we sort of like had that camaraderie, because based on that camaraderie that my team and I developed, we're all film students, filmmakers in school at that time. And we're able to transfer the knowledge and that shorthand we developed with each other onto the next project on A Beautiful Wonderful Day. So I think, at that moment where I said it was a wrap, it was like, wow, we did that,
Nice. I can see that you're a filmmaker with plenty of this. I can
have to, because nobody's gonna back you. People think you're wasting your time. People think you're just out here having fun or whatever. So you have to back yourself, and and then especially if you want to be a filmmaker who's an auteur, who has a voice, you have to be able to learn how to drown out other people's voices. Otherwise, people will tell you how to succeed when they don't know anything about your craft.
From the way you talk, from your work, I can see where you're going, and I can't wait to see more of your work, man. You're awesome. Your mind is just, keep it up. I'm gonna come back to you, Gwamaka. Let's pick up from where we stopped. Gwamaka, are you back?
Yeah, sorry about that. I think my internet. Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So let's pick up from where you stopped.
Yeah, so I was saying, it's very important to ensure that the crew, the team that I'm working with, that they believe in the craft and something that is a career path and something that pays, not just we're producing. Because for us, mostly the budget goes to paying people. It's mostly the team and the equipment. So if the equipment is there, so with that, for the film for Mbuland film, I worked with Comic Relief in GSK from the UK, and so I mostly work with grants, with NGOs, but I'm really sensitive about being able to have a voice and creative freedom to tell the story that I want to tell. So there is the challenge and the tricky part, because mostly it's mostly when you work with NGOs, there's a need of being very careful with that, because you might end up being using film just as a tool, not tell the story that you want to tell. So I've been lucky that the partners that I've worked with, I've been having the creative freedom to tell the story the way I want to. For crowdfunding, it's not for Tanzania. I don't know. I'll not speak for the rest of Africa generally, but for Tanzania, crowdfunding is not something that picked up. Like to crowdfund, because crowdfunding is mostly for people that you know, and if you don't have a network in the diaspora, it's a challenging thing to raise funds using the crowdfunding source. So for us, it's mostly grants and writing grants, and I'm glad that I'm from the background that I have experience with that, and I'm still growing in that, but still like really opening up to look for investments and starting to do films in a commercial level when stepping up to the level that Robert you're at now, Netflix and selling abroad.
Awesome. You're at the end of the day, you're there. It's just looking for it's just getting the right platform. I feel blessed to be speaking with amazing filmmakers. You guys are awesome. I'm learning a lot from you guys. At the end of the day, it's one team to make a film. The two challenges raising from first one is getting the right script, the story to tell, which is the most important part of the whole structure. You understand? Then raising money to make it. Then the final challenge is getting people to see it. You understand? But we thank God for platforms like Hulu, Amazon, and Netflix. They're making it possible for dreamers, people that are trying to make films that are bigger than themselves, films that can attract the world, films that the world that people want to see. And if you tick all those boxes, get all your production values right, yeah, you will be there. I've been blessed to have won a couple of times, but believe me, I've made some terrible films. I've made some films that I sat down to watch and I said, okay, well, you high when you make this film. So, but some people wanted me to do a symposium about filmmaking. I said, maybe I should teach them how not to make a film. Yeah, but I'm gradually coming into my own understanding, because what sets you apart is there's so many people that have your talent out there. There's so many people that can make film. There's so many people that even think deeper than you think. There's so many people that have better stories than you have. But what sets you apart is the action, doing it. One, then two, adding yourself into the work, because what will set you apart at the end of it is that uniqueness. You understand? Looking at your environment, showcasing your environment, showcasing your mind. Let them watch your films and see a particular trend. Like if you watch a Spike Lee film, you see some shots that only Spike Lee takes. And one, for example, is the one that you put the character and the camera on a dolly. So the camera is moving, the actor is moving. You understand? So just begin to look for things that are you, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to sell you. And understand that production value matters. Understand the tangible and the intangible part of production. You understand? So at the end of the day, you guys can fight, you can be broke, you can go hungry behind the scene, but what matters at the end of the day is what you capture. You understand? Okay, let me go back to the second and last question. I'm going to go to you now, Hallie. Most memorable time on set.
Yeah, I don't know. It was all an incredibly beautiful experience to be on the back of a moving van, like in a city that you love in December, because, you know, our Christmas season is warm and sunny, and like Johannesburg is quite empty at that time because it's a city that people move to for work and not really a holiday space. So, I mean, it's a city that I've really loved, and I haven't always lived here. So I think just the act of that was something quite like incredible. I really love being outside, so it maybe just spoke to me personally. Honestly, what was much more memorable than being on set is when we finally got to a point in the edit where we said, this makes sense. Like, we are actually telling a story. And that took so much longer than I was expecting. And because we were doing this in COVID, my editor and I had to work remotely for nearly a year. And at one point we just stopped and said, like, this is not working, you know? And then about 6 months later, I cut a piece of the film and sent it to him and said, I think this is what it's supposed to be. And then from there, yeah, I think when we had the, you know, the reassurance that we had actually made something that might be like a film, that's when that was the most memorable moment.
Nice. Gosia, I know you mentioned about the lady that was seasick. Was there any other memorable moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a documentary, there's a lot of things that are like a miracle kind of that happen because you don't really, I mean, you have a script in your head, you have kind of a thing you want to shoot, but then it's like real stories and people, and you don't know what's going to happen. So there's a few moments that I was really surprised that happened actually. For example, there's a little scene in the a shot in the film that when one of the characters just walks and then there's the little girl just running into, like, with the school uniform and bag, just running past into the camera and then out of the frame, which is like kind of asking a question kind of for me, what's going to happen to the next generation, you know? But it's like it was kind of amazing, you know, things like that you don't plan but happen. for example, one of the last shots, I mean, the last shots in the edited movie, which is the when my DOP is following a runner, you know, that takes the fish into the factory. And this take is just amazing, because I mean, because of how skilled is the DOP, but also, you know, like nobody looks into the camera, the movement is so, you know, and we were actually able to go almost into the factory, which was we were surprised. And this was the shot that we were waiting for the very end. Like we spent 5 weeks in the Gambia, and it was like 3 days before going home, because we didn't want to, you know, like tease the owners of the factory. So we really waited until the last moment. So these kind of things, you know, that you don't really know if what's going to work, what's not going to work, how the people are going to react. And in the documentary, you get a lot of presents from the cosmos, I don't know, from the universe. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about documentaries, you know, things that you could never imagine in a fiction script. They just happen there.
How true is this statement? They say on a film set, the director is God. On at the set of a documentary, God is the director, because you don't know where he goes. Gwamaka, any memorable moment while?
Yes, actually. So my film is called Mbuland, and Mbu is a Swahili word for mosquito. So it's a mosquito land. So it's really an imaginary world of, you know, where mosquitoes are, like the land of mosquitoes. So this was an idea in the head, and then it was scripted. And then the most memorable moment was me sitting with the rendering team and really see that land coming to reality. Having all the lights in the houses of mosquitoes where they live, and they're like the intelligence unit where they talk and set up their plans and everything. That was really a memorable moment, because I got to see the power of imagination when it comes to reality. And it was really mind-blowing. And yeah, I mean, that was really my memorable moment, to see the vision that was in the head coming to reality after rendering. And it was really, actually, it was in the middle of the night. Sometimes, because now it's midnight, it was something around this time. I'm with the team, and we just having that first image. You know, we do 24 frames per second, and we just rendered the first image. We took 15 minutes to render. So we have 13 minutes times 24 to get 24 frames of 1 second. That really needs patience to have the entire thing coming out. But to see that was really mind-blowing.
Awesome. Once again, I want to thank the African Atlanta Film Festival for this wonderful time. We're coming to the end of our time here. I am going to just give us an opportunity to there's so many people who really want to be where you are now. Some of them, they've made some films and it didn't turn out too well. Like I always tell people, it takes more energy to make a bad film than to make a good one. You understand? Yeah, I've made a very bad film and almost died in the process of making it. So there's so many people watching us out there. Just go ahead, give them some advice. We give them some advice and tips, some things that can make them be where you are presently, because where you are presently is where millions of filmmakers want to be. So I'm going to start with you, Hallie.
Sure. Big question. I think still answering that for myself. But yeah, I think that a huge thing is to fall in love with the process. Like Gosia says, like there's so many incredible things that happen during filmmaking that you're lucky to witness. And if you get to be with people that you love, and just like very grateful for the small miracle of just all of those factors coming together for an actual shoot day, then you don't get too caught up on the product. And I think we are also in the time where people are starting to acknowledge that directors are not solely responsible for films, although we get to be the people speaking about them in panels. The reality is that it is an incredibly collaborative process, and the more collaborative you are and the more you allow your collaborators to be part of that with you. I think the less terrifying it is and the faster you grow, because those people are specialists too, you know. So I think that's a huge learning thing as well, to just be a collaborative maker and see how that accelerates your career.
That's very correct. You are strong as your team. Yeah. Joseph?
Yeah, I think I would just probably just repeat the words of Burkinabe filmmaker Gaston Caboret. I think he once beautifully captured like what it means to be sort of like an Afro-futuristic griot, you know, being an African filmmaker. He was interviewed in a Research in Africa Literature issue, and he said that when sometimes I hear leaders of the world speak of Africa, it's as if it will, you know, cease to exist in 50 to 100 years. Nobody ever imagines Africa in the year like 50, 45. And people don't understand that though Africans may appear inferior because development today is measured in terms of quantity, but such an oppressive system that sort of materially reduces human life cannot last forever. And so you must trust that, you know, you belong to the group of people who have lived longest on this planet, you know, and we've seen it all, we've been through it all, we will overcome it all, and that there is a future for you. And so do not be drowned out by the sea of negativity out there. Your voice is important.
Joseph, are you sure you're in the right career? I think you should run for president.
Oh my God. Nah, I'll get fired. Yeah. There'll be a coup by the next day. Oh God.
Yeah. Your words are apt, and your words are apt. What the continent needs to hear. But you know, the good news is that you're a filmmaker, you can still, you see, it's our responsibility to mirror the people back to them. You understand? And so we can effect the change that we want to see. And that's exactly what Gosia is doing. Gosia, I'm going to go to you. So what do you have for the people that are watching you out there?
Yeah, I mean, my advice, I mean, also I agree with what Joseph and Hallie said. It is very collaborative, and that's true. Oftentimes we take the credit as directors, but I would not make this film without my editor, for example, who really structured the film, or so many other people. But my advice would be to trust your intuition when you want to do a project, when you have a story, when you want to say something to the world. Just you know, trust your guts, and because people will question you all the time, especially if you're a woman. So just believe in, especially when you do make a documentary, because it's you know, you don't have a really fixed script or shots. I mean, you might have, you know, but there's a lot of things based on what you feel in the moment, and you feel, okay, this is the shot, this is what I want to shoot right now, and just trust your gut, your intuition, and be fearless. You know, that's my advice, because at the end of the day, that's your unique voice. No one else has that voice or that story told in this unique way.
That's awesome. The world is fastly, the world is changing. So I think it's a good day for women filmmaker. I advise any female I know to step up. Yeah, it's a new day. There's some stories that I can never tell the way you and Hallie will tell it, because I don't have that perspective. Yes, it's a new day. There was a film I saw in Nigeria. I think it's on Netflix, titled It's Okay. That film could never be told by the way it was told by a male filmmaker. Yeah, there was a film I was supposed to direct in Miami. After reading the script, I told the scriptwriter, I'm going to be there to guide you technically. You guide the story. This is you. You feel this thing more than I feel it. I'm going to be trying to tell the story from the pages of the paper, and which sometimes you tell a story better when you can feel it. You understand? When you can relate with different aspects of it. You understand? And if you're in that position, you find out that you can direct the film in the right direction. You understand? There's some directors out there that are nothing but production managers. You understand? Just because they don't feel or understand what the characters are going through. They just come and just, at the end of the day, it happens a lot in my space. I don't want to mention it. Where people just, at the end of the day, when you see the whole film, everything is just plastic because it's just from script to mouth to out to camera. You understand? At the end of the day, there's no depth. You understand, in the general structure. Gwamaka, I'm going to come to you.
Yeah, I'm learning so much. I really appreciate the points from Hallie, Joseph, and Gosia in terms of like the advice and the tips. As for me, like great points have been mentioned, but I would really like cement on the being action oriented as a filmmaker, because even the term itself is maker, filmmaker. You gotta make something to be a filmmaker. Like you gotta make a film. So I think being action oriented is something that can take it the next level, and to get to a point that you can be able to tell the story you want to tell, and put it out there to the world. Because I remember like going back when I started the film, I decided to be a filmmaker, and then the next thing is grabbing a camera and shooting something. Then later on, it was possible for other people to join me in the team and like to invest in me, because like even myself, investing in myself, learning the craft and like keeping on practicing and doing something around it. So like to get to a point that to get to the point, like I would say, of greatness in this craft is to do something and to be actionable. That'll be advice that I'll put out.
Awesome. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a wonderful time with you guys. I can't believe that I survived this, given the fact that I don't speak English that well. But I survived. Moji, do we have any questions?
I'm not here.
Do we have any questions from our audience?
I'm not here. Just wrap it up, please, Robert. Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you for staying with us. It's been African Film Foundation presentation. Follow these filmmakers and follow their work. Believe me, they're going to be, these are great people. You understand? The future of film in the continent is great. And also understand your success in life does not depend on what God has given to you, but on what you do with what God has given to you. So go out there, make a film. God bless you. Thank you, gentlemen. Any final, let's get final words from each of you. I'll start with you, Gosia.
No, just thank you. It was wonderful meeting all of you, actually. And yeah, just I hope people will see the films during the festival. I hope yeah, you can follow the Stolen Fish documentary on Facebook and Instagram if you wish, for all other film festivals that are coming up in other countries as well. Thank you so much for all your questions.
And what's your Instagram handle, just in case people want to follow you?
Stolen Fish documentary.
Okay. Come again?
Stolen Fish documentary.
Stolen Fish documentary. Joseph, you?
I just want to say I'm open for business if anyone wants to hire me. So yeah, thank you guys so much. This is brilliant. And I'm gonna put the trailer for my latest film in the chat. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome. We'll check you out. Thank you. Gwamaka?
Yeah. As well, I'm really grateful to be here in the platform, as well as like it's like I've been producing films since 2016, but this is the first time that I'm getting into film festivals. This is the second one, so I'm really grateful to meet you all and to be in this platform to share and interact. I'm really looking forward to watch the films and keep in touch with everybody. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. And finally, Hallie?
Yeah, it was lovely to meet you, and thank you to the festival for having us. And I'm really excited to yeah, to see the rest of your work, everyone.
Okay, guys, peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum to everybody out there. This has been an African Film and Art Foundation presentation. Thank you. And you guys have a wonderful evening.